things that we have in the profession.
Aside from my room, I just have my table in my room, and I'll focus on them.
Okay, glad to understand that the call is now being recorded. Just without any further ado, I would go ahead to discuss why we're here exactly. So, my next slide will be introduction to career development. I don't think anyone, needs a deep breakdown as to what career development is, or so, because that's all we've been talking about this week. But it's just about positioning yourself for long-term satisfaction and opportunities. Because, but like I mentioned in the last time I spoke, whether as a business person or in your employment, you want to make sure that you rise to the top, and then a you're not at the bottom line of the chain at the end of your career. I mean, you don't spend 20 years and still be living from salary to salary and from paycheck to paycheck, and it's only taking care of your bills, and you have no say in the decision making process of your firm or organization where you find yourself. So, career development is important because as you progress along your career, you want to with the experience you gain, get the corresponding respect, the corresponding influence, and the corresponding financial status. So that's the entirety of the objective, right? So you want to have the experience. That means that it's not just spending so many years there, but experience that comes with expertise. And so that's why we look towards career development, to make sure that, because I mean, you have to have the skills to pay the bills, right? So that's self-explanatory. So yes, how do you start? How do you make sure that your career is being, your career development is on the right track? So the first thing is actually evaluating your skills. If you were here on the first day, Listener Dekoya dealt, effectively with this subject, where she mentioned, that you have to know yourself. She gave an example of people who already know that they're going to be good advocates even before they get to law school, because they've excelled in mooting competitions. Likewise, you might find yourself as an academic, you might like having teaching people, speaking to people. That's an opportunity for you. That's an opportunity for you to already start charting your path. So you have to know yourself. And then even your personality type. This is where Emma Dion came in yesterday, and she talked about emotional intelligence and types of persons, and how to maximize your strengths and minimize your weaknesses while collaborating with members of your team. So you want a situation where you are able to self evaluate, right, and know where you stand, and then leverage on them. There's a popular saying that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, because you're basically in the same place, where you would love to be anyways, even if you're not getting any money for it. So you want to understand why personality type is important. It's because you want to know, right? You want to know exactly why, what your tolerance level is. You find that if you're in a task that you don't enjoy, or if you're not someone who is personally driven to be doing so many courses, when you're doing the courses, you might find them as tasking. Meanwhile, your passion may be in writing. So you want to make sure that you're not killing yourself in the wrong place and going in circles. So while balance is important, your understanding of what you can do, and then where you are, you need to know, be self-aware to know what is it that I can do. How, is my what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, how good is my proficiency, because you don't want to underestimate yourself, because you will then start doing things below the level that you're supposed to. At the same time, you don't want to assume and overreach yourself and get to a point where you are missing out on key things because you already have failed to properly evaluate your competency. And then next thing is setting goals. You want to make sure that when you're setting targets to say, oh, I want to become a better lawyer. Becoming a better lawyer is a vague goal. You need to know exactly what you want to do. So you want to say, by when I am 5 years post-call, I should have written over 25 articles. I should have handled cases up to the Supreme Court. So short-term and long-term. And of course, the long-term is just a combination of many short-term goals. To say, okay, this month I'm reading one book. this week I'm reading one chapter. You can't just wing it and just say you're going to lock in, and then when you're in your motivated era, you read like 13 chapters and then you leave the other two chapters. You never finish the book, right? So you want to make sure that there is consistency. It's really more about in marathon sprints like life. It's more about consistency than motivation. It's more about how often you do something than how many times you did it once or how long you did something one time, right? So you want to make sure that your goals, short and long term, are achievable goals, reasonable goals, and you're not setting the bar too low. You want to make sure that these are things that will push you towards improvement. And of course, creating an action plan. Next will then be obviously what we talked about. I mean, we did I personally mentioned this during the networking session where I said you want to have something to offer, and so doing that would require taking a lot of trainings. Because I mean, you say you want to go and connect with people in the tech industry. Your passion is tech law, for instance, and you've not done anything with tech law. You don't understand you don't know what backend is, you know what UI UX is. How do you now connect with a potential client and say, oh, I am a tech lawyer or I'm into legal technology or whatever? They're not going to listen to you. So you want to take the opportunity to actually develop yourself. It doesn't necessarily mean that once you're taking courses or programs, the next week you're going to get a client from it. No, but it's a process. You're building yourself, you're building knowledge, and then you never know when it comes on. You say, oh, I actually wrote on this a long time ago, or I actually studied this, I have a certification in this. So you want to make sure that you are taking those qualifications. And another reason why you take qualifications is that it goes beyond you gaining the knowledge. It also serves as proof of the knowledge. In our profession, you can't really, a lawyer is already assumed to be good at what he does. So you may not even get the opportunity to show that you know, because they already assume. But when they're assuming everyone is good, but somebody has, evidence without without having to interact with the person, you go to the person's profile and you're seeing that the person has written on this, person has gotten certifications on this. I mean, it's a no-brainer to actually choose the person, right? So even us as lawyers, if you're patronizing someone's business, you want to, look for the person who actually understands it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, technical and soft skills. Soft skills falls under what Emmanuel was able to run over yesterday, emotional intelligence, and then technical skills. Again, we as the Excellent Nigerian Lawyers Guide, we often hold these webinars as well, where we talk about technical areas of law. Most recently, we held a session on contract negotiation and drafting, particularly with focus on energy law. So you want to make sure you tap into things like that, get the technical skills, and it's a continuous process. It's not something we still do it. Seniors ahead of me still do it. My people that are 20 years at the bar still pick up newspapers and read for the latest deals, regulatory changes. So you want to, as a lawyer, the easiest thing to do, right? Especially as you're learning, you feel like you may not be able to give a detailed analysis on something. The easiest thing to do is to comment on new trends. Right now, Lagos states and the other states are passing electricity laws to allow them manage their own generation, transmission, and distribution of electricity. You don't necessarily need to say, oh, this means this. You can actually go in there and say that, oh, this is a significant change and it is to be seen. You can have like speculative opinions, but the point is you've talked about it, you're aware what's happening, and you need to be able to to continuously keep up with regulatory changes. Next thing I will talk about is network. I mean, I don't think I need to go into this one into too much detail. If you go back to day 3, you'd be able to watch that and then see. We talked extensively about attending events, joining professional associations, finding a mentor. And I'll just stress again that mentorship is not only for, from the slides here, you can already see that finding a mentor is for guidance and support, not for opportunities and extortion, right? Both ways. As a mentor, you don't want to make sure that you're just stealing the person's ideas when they're communicating that, oh, this is what I want to do. And as a mentee, you're not taking advantage of the network solely for the purpose of getting an opportunity that you desire, right? And then maintaining connections with professional contacts and colleagues. So I mentioned in a networking session, upline, downline, horizontal networking. and then outside your circle as well. All very important for establishing yourself as a lawyer. You want to have a personal brand, right? So seeking and seizing opportunities. So a couple things here. We've talked about employment. I know that that's what Lesnar Dekoya's session, which is day one, extensively covered. You're talking about getting your CV properly, talking about playing according to your strengths, sorry about that, playing according to your strengths, talking about making sure that I talked about this in my final tips for going forward, that when you're going for an interview, you're not the only one they are interviewing, you're interviewing them, which is what is discussed under this test, like to say that, oh, you evaluate this opportunity to see whether it fits your own plan. It's not always them doing you a favor, right? So it, as important as it is to start in a firm that you want to go, you want to make sure that there is progression. You don't want to go and start at A and then the next firm you're going to, it's is 15, right? You're totally lost. You want to have a progression. Now, this may not even be in terms of practice area. Some people are able to pivot and say, oh, I was doing energy, now I'm doing litigation, now I'm doing tech, now I'm doing banking. It doesn't matter, right? But in as much as you want consistency, many times where people are finding their feet, and that's okay. Everybody's path is very different. But the idea is that you shouldn't be working, in a you shouldn't be working opportunities that don't match your profile or match what it is your ambition that you're saying you want to go. You can't say that your career progression, you're looking to have a career in corporate law, and then an opportunity comes in another place and then without even thinking, right? So I understand it's critical to say that, oh, you're only going to do things that fall within your preferred area of practice, right? Especially at this stage, it's not so advisable to many people. But it's a conversation that needs to be had. You need to weigh your options. You can't just say, oh, they're paying me more money, I'm going there. And then many times people have not been able to recover. And I speak from experience, things that I have seen myself, right? So people that go into, I'm not going to name drop so it doesn't look like a particular industry is amount of career suicide or anything like that. But what happens a lot of the time, not most, a lot of the time is that when people, are in an area, they may not even enjoy it, so they're not motivated to continue developing themselves. But the fact that it's lucrative salary wise at the beginning, right? Because like you find that over time, people who have gained experience begin to get their own startups, begin to get their own firms, begin to invest in other businesses, coming with the knowledge, and experience they've had for several years, in active work, be it in, corporate or whatever. So they're coming with, active practice. But some people who now had stopped developing themselves simply because they saw, an early, you know, opportunity that was flush with cash, they now end up being stagnant. So you want to make sure that there is a steady progression in your career, like from job to job. There has to be, I mean, open LinkedIn, look at anybody that you feel like that you admire. When you look at their profiles, you can see LinkedIn is not supposed to oppress you, it's supposed to inspire you, right? You can see how some of them didn't even start at tier ones or whatever, but they started somewhere, they moved, and then gradually, you even see them becoming partners in all these firms, right? So you need to make sure that they assess the opportunities that you find. You actually consider things like your career goal, the work environment, opportunity for development, and then obviously remuneration. But it shouldn't be like, oh, highest bidder. That's you have to seize the opportunities that are relevant to you. Next thing, strategies, right? So it's uh it's just again summarizing everything we said. I think this even makes me really feel good. It feels like I would have loved to attend a webinar like this if I weren't part of the people organizing it, because it's very comprehensive. Every day we've talked about some of these things, and then we're just recapping to have like a panel where we would answer any questions, and we would ask questions as well to understand from your perspective how what are the challenges you're facing, and how we can better understand and see where we can help, right? So again, yeah, this is very important. This actually is career development strategies at work. That's okay. So you wanted this job, now you're in the job. It doesn't end there. In fact, your work is just starting, right? So obviously, not to give you any tension, you might feel out of your depth, especially when you're in a firm that's you were doing all you've been doing is litigation, or all you've been learning is your criminal, corporate, civil, and then all of a sudden you're entering and you're hearing PPA, GSPA, KPI, SSML, and you're lost, right? So you don't want to feel intimidated. It's a matter of time. Everybody has been on that side. So I'm saying this in anticipation of your day ones, or for those who are, have already started working in these firms and see that, okay, what about, like, I don't know anything. It's not that way. It's actually just a matter of time, and you too would understand. But in that, so when I joined the firm I work with, the um my supervisor told me that I don't accept, he says I accept mistakes for lack of knowledge, but I don't accept mistakes for lack of effort. Right? So if it's that you didn't understand what the law was saying because you've not gotten that experience, that's fine. But you can't bring a document and there's no alignment. You bring a document, the font sizes are, and you know, the fonts and font sizes are different, colors are different. You have to make sure that it's properly aligned. So you have to understand what your expectations are, um, which is part of what I said 2 days back when I was talking about how the questions you ask when you are attending an interview. You ask things like, what are my expectations? How do you measure success? So that already helps you know what it is your role is. And you have to meet and exceed expectations to establish yourself as a valuable person, because there's no better, you know, connector or some person who will refer you than people who you've worked with and see that you are doing what you're doing with zeal, with expertise, and with competence, right? So as an excellent Nigerian lawyer, your mandate is to exude excellence wherever you go. You can't be mediocre. You can't go and start join everyone to say, oh, they're not paying me enough. Yeah, look at it like you're working for yourself. You're developing yourself, because those skills you get at the early stage of your career are what you rely on for the rest of it, right? And then also um is a whole holistic um is a holistic engagement or enterprise, or I'm looking for the word there, but yeah, undertaking. Yes. So, one, you do your job to the best that you can while trying not to put too much pressure on yourself. Two, you actually participate actively in company projects. You don't just go. This is part of emotional intelligence. You don't just go and say, "Oh, I've done my job," and go home. The truth of the matter is that people would remember. There are so many times decisions are made, promotions are made when in at a party, at the office party, that's when the person decides, because they feel you as a human being beyond just an employee that is staying there. So you want to make sure that where the company says, oh, we need to actually, make develop our branding. You're saying, oh, okay, I do graphic designs. Maybe I can help out. I know they're not paying you for it, but from there, you can, especially when it's a temporary arrangement, you can try to offer whatever skills you have to endear yourself to the company. Another thing that I've seen is that people think that law firms or companies are only looking to your technical knowledge. No, they actually look for how else you can benefit the team. They want it someone who they say, oh, when they're having issues with Excel, they can just call Abigail, or they can just call David or Nelson, and they will be able to handle it when they're having issues. So having, you know, your ability to contribute. Some people are even good at doing proposals. Like their strength may not be, they're not incompetent, obviously, but their strength may not be in drafting briefs or agreements or processes, in as much as, as much as how they draft when it's time to do proposals, legal opinions, administrative work. Some people are good at that. So employers want to have people that can support them in their projects and initiatives, in branding, in communication. You have 10,000 followers on your social media, and the firm has so you want to make sure that you are able to use the following that you have to bring awareness for the firm. So that's an easy way to develop your career, because then the firm or company, whoever, whatever your employer is, will then continue to look at you as a valuable asset who understands the business side, and then that obviously does good for you in terms of your career path, promotion, and so on. Again, building relationship with your supervisors, especially because you work with them a lot. You don't want a situation where you're working with somebody and you guys are having bad blood, right? So try to, as much as possible, don't assume when they uh, give a review of a work on a review of work and give a less than exciting review. Try to establish, oh, this is how this made me feel, because you don't want to start feeling like someone has a personal agenda against you, right? So personal personal relationships are very important. Uh, and then this is something that I've talked about, career transitions, finding, the opportunity. You want to make sure that you're in between, like when you're moving from one to the next, you're not just moving for more money, you're moving because they align with your career goals. I've already said that. Dealing with uncertainty, I mean, you guys are currently the best example of this because, as you're in the law school, oh, sorry, beg your pardon, as you have successfully completed the law school and the bar finals, there's a lot of question. Oh, did I pass? Did I not pass? What degree? What this? Where can I work? What's the job? But I mean, it's really out of your hands right now. All you can do is pray and hope that God. You just pray and believe that God has done it and perfects the work that you've done. And then the other thing you can do with your time is to make sure that you develop yourself in every downtime you have. There's this popular saying that when the weather is bad, the fishermen mend their nets. So they don't just sit around and say, "Oh, it's raining, we can't fish." They then use the opportunity to develop capacity for whenever the opportunity presents itself again. So I want to make sure that in this time you're writing articles or you're taking courses or you're reading more. You don't just abandon your law school notes, because the idea is that as you're going into a firm or company or whatever, or work with clients, you don't want to be referring to your notes every single time. You want to come in, bring in with, like, you're fresh from the law school, so the expectation is higher to say that, oh, I expect this person to actually know these things. And now you're often reading, I guess that, okay, you might feel like, oh, you might, if you don't, if you study now, you might be worried about, what you wrote. But what you wrote is what you wrote and it's past. Do you want to really, go into profession not knowing some certain things? You want to get in there and actually defend whatever results you got, or even better to say that, oh, the result does not, represent my understanding of this subject, right? Because the expectations are higher, knowing that you just came out from law school. So I would say that it's very important that you take this opportunity this time before you. I mean, I strongly believe that the results will be out sooner than later. But that being said, it's important for you to still take whatever opportunity is left to make develop capacity as you build your overall long career. And yeah, and the final words, career development is an ongoing process requiring planning and adjustments. Stay focused on your goals. Remember, I talked about putting short-term goals in place. Say how many things you want to do this, how many books you want to read this year, what area of law you want to understand more. You've been hearing about fintech, you've been hearing about crypto, uh, energy, anything. What do you want to know? And then when do you want to know it? So you have to stay focused on those goals and then enhance your skills. And then over time, you'll be able to build your career and achieve more success. So that's it from me. I hope that we'll be able to get back to our interactive session. I'd like to hear from you guys. What else you like to, if there are any questions first, and then secondly, uh, I would like for you to contribute. It's an interactive session, and then once we're done with that, we'll hear from our other panelists for today. David Udioko is who is waiting to you know we're waiting for his manifestation on this call this night. And that being said, I would like to take your questions now. If there are any questions, please let me know. Okay, I see. Okay, there's no hand up, but I assume that Akachiku had a very she properly he or she properly understood this session. So can you kindly give us a recap? tell us your key takeaways from the 5 days.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, thank you very much for such an session. I learned a lot, and I was also encouraged on, let's say, some gray areas. Briefly, one of the things that I learned was the need for me to give priority to my areas of interest and passion as regards the practice of law. In as much as the money is good, but in the long run, if I should become all about the money, I may end up having, unfulfillment and not being satisfied in my career path. Um, Also, I learned the need. One of the things that struck me was that your boss said that he does not accept mistake. He accepts mistakes for lack of knowledge, but not mistake for lack of efforts. And so there is the need as a lawyer. There is already that assumption that we are good at what we do, and so it will not have the situation where that assumption will be proven to be wrong for us. We should do what is necessary to build and develop ourselves, gain knowledge, take courses, read articles and all the rest that we can do so as to grow ourselves on in the legal profession. And also talked about being in a firm. When one is in a firm, the need to have our employer's vision, our employer's project at heart. We are not there for what they can give to us, but we are primarily there for what we can do for them. Even if we should have or develop the abundance mentality towards our place of work, have that abundance mentality of even wanting to give beyond more than we actually receive. It positions us for abundance. So that is my own little recap and what I can say. Thank you.
That's a very, 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 very succinct recap. I'm grateful to have also heard from you. It feels like I'm learning it afresh because you properly, covered, the crux of our discussion this evening, and I'm great. I'm glad to hear that you really paid attention and you got something out of it. Um, I need to hear from a few more people, two more people, and then we take our next speaker. Vivian, please tell us your experience in this 5 day series. What has been the one thing that stuck out to you the most, either from today or anything in the webinar so far, the hand holding session? Vivian, we're waiting on you.
Oh, my apologies. I thought you said Cecilia. Good evening, all.
Good evening.
I haven't been quite, yes, I haven't been very faithful to the days, but the days I attended, they have been quite insightful, very insightful, I must say. And I'm grateful for this platform and opportunities to hear from senior colleagues, giving us hope that it's not so, it's doable. Particularly tonight's conversation. Thank you, sir. Thank you for pouring into us, for making us know that um, there is hope, really. There is hope, really, with all the plenty things we see that just demoralize you and say, is this going to be job after the um, enormous amount of lawyers that are called every year? Which space can we find for ourselves? But you've made us know how we can stand out, and the importance of value and working on ourselves just to be the best version of ourselves, and money always follows value. So thank you. Those teachings have been insightful, really. So yes, that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivian. I'm glad to hear that you've also had something to take away from this. The goal is to ensure that everyone leaves here with fresh encouragement, because especially in this time there's a lot of tension and fear going around, people having uncertainty beyond results, life in general. And we want to make sure that, as a community, partnering with Adorn Project, we want to make sure that everyone, is carried along. um and I'm glad that, you had that experience. I'd also like to add that, personal branding is very important. Personal branding is one of the, like, I think I've repeated this many times. You don't want to hide. You don't want to be, afraid of telling people that you're a lawyer. And many times you won't even have to. It just depends on what you talk about. Like, try to spend less time, talking about hot takes and who, married who and who. I mean, those are great things, right? But it's not always about who is fighting. Talk about the regulatory changes. Talk about the. I mean, I mentioned electricity. I mentioned there are a lot of things, that go on, that are opportunities for us to talk about. Then in our social media, you want to make sure that your posts, even when you're taking pictures of yourself, they can also be suggestive without you even needing to say anything. So branding, and as Emmanuel mentioned yesterday's session, your profession is even a good one that you don't have to even be ashamed about. When you see a lawyer, you're like, you're a lawyer, right? So that's the reaction that you get. So, that being said, you want to, if your desire, is to position yourself through personal branding, and then especially through, getting flyers for the Nigerian, call to the Nigerian bar, you can always contact the Adorn Project. I believe that during the course of this um, session, the Adorn Project, okay, it's actually in the meeting link, and it's actually in the chats. I would ask someone to resend and pin that, so that anyone who is willing to, focus on their personal branding and bring out the best of them can reach out to see their catalog and pick, designs. And thank you for posting that link. So there's a question in the chat box. I'll take that, and then I'll take one more contribution. Mr. Nandom, please get ready to tell us, your contribution, your experience throughout this program. Before that, the question says, is it advisable to include non-law skills on our CVs while applying for NYSC associate roles? Of course. I mentioned that. So it depends obviously on the kind of skill, but generally, yes. I mentioned that what firms don't just look at. In fact, people have been putting football on their, even people that don't even watch football, they had been mischievously putting sports lover on their CVs, because I don't know how many of us are aware of this lawyers league, where firms then start, to look for footballers, because the lawyers who also are, sports people, because it helps them in their, firm branding for those competitions. So certainly, especially if it's a skill that is transferable, when you're talking about soft skills, then you're talking about tech skills, you have yeah, a good, people management. Just it's about how you coin it. So let's assume that you have human resource management experience. You're not applying for the role of HR, so you don't want to um, go there and say, oh, human resource management. You want to say great people skills or connectivity, ability to handle conflict. Those things that, can now be the bridge between your law practice and the skills that you have. When you say Microsoft Word proficiency, tech savvy, easy to learn, fast to learn. I'm just trying to spitball here from top of my head, but you should be, if you're able to relate those skills to your profession, add as many as you can, because I mentioned, I don't know if you're on the call then, but I mentioned that when you have more skills than your technical know-how, you become valuable to the firm, because you can then become the standout guy or girl for that particular task. And they're looking for someone who can do X, Y. They know that you're there. And if there's nothing else that you're doing, they won't want to get rid of you, because you have, do you see, what we trade in our business is relevance. Once you're relevant, you're successful, you have money, right? You have opportunities coming your way. So when you're relevant to a firm, you're relevant to a client, you're relevant to a community, your family, community, whatever, that's how you're able to. So you need to make sure that, you are able to leverage on the skills you have to give yourself relevance in detective. So I hope I answered your question, Ophyung. Ophyung, have I answered your question? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. So Nando, please, can you, before we get to our next speaker, our final our final feedback from this evening, we would hear from Nandon Pogwan. He will tell us how. Okay, thank you. Ofyong says his question at the answer. You tell Ofyong, sorry, Nandon, please tell us your experience. What's like one thing or more, but at least one thing that has struck out to you the most or stuck out to you the most during the course of this new week handholding series from today or any other of the any other 4 days that we had. Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I hope you
Good
can all
evening.
hear me.
Loud and clear.
Yeah. Okay. So my name is Nandom Jeremiah Pogwan. I want to sincerely, first and foremost, appreciate the leadership of this project. Our dear David Udioko. This is a very, very wonderful idea and very impactful. We really appreciate this effort. And the plethora of guest speakers, excellent and intelligent guest speakers. Honestly, we are so grateful. I particularly am grateful. I actually have years of experience, but learning from you guys was just something else. Like I was like, are you serious? All these things, even with the little details regarding the call to bar and everything, it was really, really something that I appreciated a lot. I'm so grateful about it. We got to learn about all of the things surrounding, from the very first day, surrounding the call to bar ceremony, and all of the confidence boost that we got from our speakers. And then with regards to the practice itself, talking about emotional intelligence, talking about how to go about getting, connected into personal relationship. All of these things are very important for young lawyers, new weeks, and it's something I've learned about. I've learned from all of the speakers, and I'm very grateful to all of them. So I don't know. I think this is core for me. I know I've learned. If I'm to say all the things I've learned, it's gonna be much. So let me just stop here. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nandon. I'm also glad to hear that you've had quite the experience, and I'm grateful that someone like yourself has also had the opportunity to benefit from this. Just to then round up and hand over to our next speaker who will talk to us for a short while. I'm also seeing some familiar faces. Obina, welcome. That being said, thank you all for your contributions. We would hear from David Udioko, who is also one of the conveners of this program and a key resource person for the Adorn Project. He would hear from him on building career development. In fact, he is probably one of the best people to tell you about how you can leverage your tech skills and your other skills into your law profession and see how you don't always have to pick and choose. David, you have the floor.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much. All right, please just confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, I
Can we
can
hear
hear
me? If
you.
you can hear me, all right. Thank you very much, Manny. Okay, so a quick one. So so to this session, if at any point you lose me, please let me know, guys. So today's session it's on building a successful law career. So we'll be ignorant or we'll be proud to say that we have all it takes to tip you as regards building a successful law career. I don't think anybody really can, and because we are all in the process. And the only time when one can be said to have built a successful law career is after one has exited the scene. So, and we are still in the scene. So how then can we say we have a webinar where we're going to be talking about building a successful law career? It sounds hypocritical, but at the very core of it is not that anyone is trying to give you a quick start guide towards building a successful law career, but basically comes from a place of wanting to share experience, especially as touching us as young lawyers. So that's the very reason why this session was put together. And then I would share a little. Now we have two crops of persons on these calls. We have those who would by virtue of either connections or stellar grades get to work with the tier ones, the top law firms. That's one crop. And then we have others who either by virtue of choice, or virtue of the lottery of not having stellar grades, would either get to work with other law firms that are not the tier ones or get to go into entrepreneurship. So those are the two crop of persons we have here. First, let me reiterate, those who would eventually, either by virtue of connections, by virtue of their stellar grades, okay, by virtue of sheer hard work, gets to be with the tier ones. And then there are those who, either by virtue of choice, when I'm saying choice, there are persons who will still have stellar grades or still choose to be on the other side of the divide for reasons best known to them, who may not have stellar grades but still decide to, who may not have stellar grades, but either by choice or not having stellar grades, or just by lottery of life, be with the other law firms that are not tier one law firms, or decides to delve into other areas that are not cliche. Either they go into entrepreneurship or they do other things. So you've seen lawyers who are still in real estate and other things. So irrespective of whichever side of the divide you see yourself playing in the coming years, it doesn't make you any less a lawyer. That is one mindset I want us to have. Irrespective of the side of the divide you find yourself, it doesn't make you, pardon my voice, it doesn't make you any less a lawyer. Before I continue, because I know my network has been unstable, I want to confirm that you heard these few words I just spoke of now. These things I just said, did you hear them very well? If you heard
Loud
them,
and
go to
clear.
the comments and just put an emoji strike. Okay, Manny, you heard me right?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. I just want to be confirming at every point in time because my network has been poor. Beautiful. Now, why did I give that background? This because there's this narrative, especially amongst young lawyers, that if I'm not on this side, I'm losing out. If I'm not on this side, I'm losing out. No, everyone will not be. While we're all trained with same curriculum, everyone will not do the same thing. But the distinguishing factor or the point that everyone would meet, irrespective,
I
privileged to
think
be in
we
the
lost
cab.
you.
I was supposed to be. I was. Hello.
Yeah, we lost you for a second. Can you just take that again, please? Thanks.
Okay. I said, irrespective of whichever part of the divide you may find yourself currently, or you see yourself in the coming years, or you may find yourself because of the grade you eventually come up with, it doesn't make you any less a lawyer. It doesn't make any less. So why am I saying this? It's because the mindset with which you practice is what will determine how your practice will look like. You can choose to make your practice attractive, or you can choose to wallow in regrets. And why am I saying this? Very soon, you all will be expecting your results. I have colleagues who were expecting stellar grades. When I mean stellar grades, they were expecting first class, expecting prizes, but it didn't turn out to be so. And I had some as well who were not expecting stellar grades. In fact, I have a friend, I still have a chat. Like she eventually had a first class, but she came into my DM and said, this is not a result. Like she was shocked that she had a first class. And as I speak to you right now, she's not even using that grade. She's currently in the UK. She's not even using that grade. She's doing something entirely different. Like she was not planning for a first class. So that's why I say that there are certain persons that, irrespective of their grades, by choice may not even want to work with tier one law firms. And there are people who are going for stellar grades, but by virtue of the grades not favoring them, they will now be in other firms. But the mindset is, wherever you find yourself or whatsoever the future may hold, do not have that mindset that you are disadvantaged. No. You do not. We had one of our very first webinars, if not the very first one. I recommend that you go see that on YouTube. We had Daniel Idu of Council. He was the one who spoke on that call, and he had a first class from the law school. In fact, he was the best graduating student from his university, that's Benue State University, where he finished, and then he had a first class in law school. But he told us something. He said that when he has his own law firm now, so but when time came for practice, that he doesn't think because of the choices he had, he wanted to have his own firm. He didn't think that his grade did him any much good. Fine, that grade was fine, but he didn't think his grade did him any much good. I'm not see the person speaking to you, and even Manny on this call, we both had the first class. So I'm not speaking from a place of first class is not for us. No, we both had a first class. Manny is working in a top tier law firm. So we are not saying we are not trying to water it down, but we are trying to say that we've observed that is a mindset that lawyers tend to have, especially new wigs, when they eventually don't have that grade they were looking out for. See, that if you have that mindset, you're going to cheat yourself, irrespective points we all meet, whether we had this or whether we had, there's a point we all meet at. And that point is what? That point, we get to that point based off on the sweat or our grind and all the things Manny was saying from the beginning. But a majority of persons are disadvantaged because they think that their grades will not do them any well. So I have a first class, but I'm not in a tier one law firm. I'm working at the Ministry of Justice here in local Kogi State, where what they are paying me is the federal government allowing 33,000 naira. You understand? So, but I'm here by choice. And it's not just I'm doing that, I'm still doing a few other things on the side remotely. But I'm here by choice. I'm here because of the plans I have. You get? So somebody working in I remember saying, me that's working in Ministry of Justice, local of all state, not even Abuja or Lagos. I'm inferior to somebody working in a tier one law firm in Lagos that is earning 450 or 500K. You're not inferior. You are all lawyers. You must just tell yourself that irrespective of the grade or where I work, you are all lawyers. It is that mindset that will make you begin to take the steps of success. It is that mindset that will make you begin to see yourself. Well, there are certain persons that when they see certain opportunities, you write yourself out. Write yourself. In fact, first Osogun FO Legal, one of the very, we've also, if you can go to YouTube, you see one of the sessions we've had with him. If you check him, one of the very foremost counsel, he had a 2-2 from the law school. I think he had a 2-1 from OOE, Olabanjo University. So I'm giving you both divides, both people who did well and those who, in our own perception, they did well, but probably because of the metrics through which we judge, we think that this person didn't do well. They are doing fine in practice. So if you have the right mindset, what I'm going to be chipping here, okay, because we'll be drawing the curtain, is that one at the very core towards building a successful law career is the right mindset. That irrespective of grade, irrespective of experience, you look at somebody's LinkedIn, if he has not even been called to buy it, but he has interned with 5 tier 1 law firms, and you just cower into your share because looking at your CV, the only internship you've done is with a digital marketing platform, not even a law firm, and then you are like, Kai, you are disadvantaged. No, you are not disadvantaged. If you have that mindset that is advantage, you will begin to live that experience. And it's not even, you must have the right mindset that you're all lawyers. It is on that place now you begin to find out, okay, what do I need to do in order to measure up? And I'll end with this story. So currently here at the Ministry of Justice, Lokoja, okay, I also double as the president of the Legal Aid CBS. So recently we had a meeting today with Legal Aid Council here in Lokoja, and there are a lot of we are currently. So this is me not working in a tier 1 law firm, and I want to show you because I know there's some of you here that your goal is to work in a tier 1 law firm, but the truth of the matter is that tier 1 law firms can only less than 5% of the persons who are called to the bar. We have over people. How many of you wrote the exams? Over 5,000 wrote the exams. How many will pass? Let's say over 4,000 will pass. How many of these number does their own law firms employ? So where are the rest going to be? So do we have the rest of you feeling disadvantaged that there's no opportunity? There are opportunities. Come on, there are opportunities. It is left for you to now make the best out of your opportunities. So let me revert back to my story as I round off. So now this is me. I have been with the Ministry of Justice since October. So I'll be expecting my first judgment. Like this matter, my name is on, not that I was my name is on the process, from beginning to end. I'll be expecting my first judgment. Whether or not it goes in my favor, I will have a judgment to my name by 17th of February. That's when the ruling is going to come out. This is somebody that's not working in a tier 1 law firm, but under my first year of post call, I'm going to be having my first judgment to my name, not tier 1 law firm. One Ministry of Justice in one state that nobody wants to go to. Why am I saying that? Currently we are collaborating with the Legal Aid Council to take on pro bono matters. You understand? And the thing is this, irrespective of, this is me talking about the cliche litigation. I've not even gone into the stellar experiences. See, there are a lot of startups coming out here and there, and they cannot afford the big lawyers. And that's why everybody was talking about branding. Branding is not necessarily putting out flyers somewhere. Branding is the consistent image that people see of you. So you're a lawyer. What are the things you speak about on your status? You need not, money. You will never see money talk about the first commission. I'm not saying people that do that are not doing the right thing. No, I'm not trying to drive home a point about how you can brand without you actually talking, like without you actually say. But money has accredited in the Corporate Affairs Commission, and he has registered, if I'm not mistaken, businesses and companies in their numbers. I as well. I've not put up on myself to say, come and register CAC with me. But because people know I'm a lawyer, because of the things I say, offline and online, so they will naturally be attracted to you to say, lawyer, this thing, and then with that you can give them advice, and then you get money. So branding is proper. So this is very important. This is the branding story. This is one way you can first the right mindset, and then secondly branding. These are the two things I'll just say, and then I'm rounding off. I'm leaving the stage, making the best out of wherever you find yourself. So in the litigation space, this is the time you can do pro bono. You don't have wife, you don't have, even if you don't have a wife, you don't have children now. So this is a period you can afford to do pro bono in order to build your portfolio, build your profile. Build your profile. This is a period you can afford. So once the call happens, while you're waiting for the tier 1 law firms, there are pro bono things you can take. We were talking with the Legal Aid Council, and they were like, see that rule in provenance about ambulance chasing. It doesn't apply to pro bono. Like you can, so far as it's pro bono, you can chase ambulance, especially with us that and the Legal Aid Council and what have you, because we are looking for indigents to represent. So ambulance, we can chase ambulance. So that's the exception for the Legal Aid Council, because when they were telling us on certain things that we need to do in order to get matters, our market outreaches, prison visits, and the rest thing we are doing in local JIA, so it's ambulance chasing, but it's permitted because you are doing it pro bono. So the things you can do to build your profile. I know persons who eventually work with their own law firms. After this, their own law firms actually, do you know they actually put out notices to employ people that are 5 years post-com? Oh, you don't know? They actually do. So if your vision is to work with these people, they actually put out notice to work with people that are 5 years post-call, 6 years post-call, 4 years post-call. They put out those notices. So at that time, irrespective of your grade, what will make them hire you if at all your vision is to work with them? It is now imagine I had a 2-2 in law school. I had a first class, but imagine I had a 2-2 in law school and a 2-2 from university. But in my first 3 years of post-call, I have like 5 judgments to my name. And and what these people are actually looking for, call litigation lawyers and all that, and I put an application to these tier 1 law firms, and they see my portfolio and see somebody else. Who would they want to hire? Do you think they want to hire that person at the first class and his 5 years post and that's how enjoyment is? They want to hire me because for me to have this thing, that means this person has been working. So the right mindset and proper branding, these two things you get you into any door. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. I think with this we can draw the curtain. These and more are the things you're going to be hearing on our various sessions, and I would just love to defer to Manny, and also too, if there are any questions around what I said, you can go ahead. I'm just trying to be economic with my words because I know we are constrained for time. So yeah, thank you very much, and I hope what I said made a sense or two. Manny of Council.
Yes, sorry, I had a call come in. Thank you very much, David. Please. So we're supposed to also hear from someone else, but I doubt that will be we'll be able to take that today because we don't want to take all of your time. We understand that there's still so much else going on. Thank you, David, for a very, very, very succinct session. Like you properly captured, something that has continued to plague a lot of people in our state. People that haven't even gotten there, people that have passed there, people that are there in the moment. So it's good to value yourself, make the best opportunity that you can, and then value your personal branding beyond just the looks and everything. So I think that brings us to a very bountiful end of a 5-day webinar session, and we hope that you have gained something. I mean, from the feedback we heard from Nandom, from Vivian, from Nelson, I believe that that's the experience of all of us in the house. Thank you to all our speakers, to Blessing, to Emmanuel, to David, to myself, to Etaba, and to those who were not able to tune in due to their busy schedules. We understand, and we hope to hear from them later on. And then for new members of our community, we want to inform you that you wouldn't be new Wigs forever, and we have other programs. We have programs specifically tailored for lawyers. We would also be trying to give back to law students as we always do. So we try to see how we can organize, mooting competitions, essay writing competitions. We want to move into that space. And if you're feeling, there's a way you can support that, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. The link to our WhatsApp channel is right there in the chat. So once you join, you can get my number and then tell me, or David or anyone, reach out to see how you can support and give back as you. And then again, also we have programs coming up for lawyers where we discuss, specific sector trainings. The ones that we had in the past are all on our YouTube channel, which again is in the chat. Thank you to all of you for joining. Thank you to all of our speakers. So our wonderful hosts. We've had Omar, we've had Favor, we've had Dinty, we've had Abby, and I'm grateful to all of you for the time that you've put in, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you for joining once again. It's been a lovely series, and we hope to see you soon. Ciao, goodbye. Things that we have in the profession. I just have my table in my room. Now focus on them.